Hello, hello. Now we're going to do a little bit of more VUEX stuff. So what I plan on doing is basically, I've got on the side here my lists, and you can add new lists like so. And then that puts it straight into the VUEX store. Oh, something's going on here. Server error. Weird. Maybe this app's just been sitting still for too long. Let's try another one. Another one. Make that blue. See if that's going to work. All right, it's working. So, I don't know. Maybe I just needed to refresh the page. So that all works with lists. The next thing I want to do is have basically the same functionality within my my to-dos themselves. And I think I got started on this, but I stopped for some reason. Oh, okay, so I actually implemented to-do searching. So I've got a way to fetch the to-dos, and when I fetch them, I give it the list ID, and then it filters them by the list ID. So that's all API stuff on the back end. And now let's come over here, and we want to fill out this create to-do thing so that actually does something. So let's go create to-do. Okay, so we probably need to have a create to-do component. Let's jump into index.view, Quasar, new component, and we'll call this create to-do button. And there's going to be, we need to find that create to-do button and basically extract it to its own component. I think it might actually be sitting in the main layout. Create, where is it? Actually, no, it's not in the main layout. I'm pretty sure it's in index.view. Well, it's going to be a Q-button, so we can at least search for that. Here it is here. Handle, create, to don't clicked. I was calling it to don't, but I'm going to change that back to do. To do. There we go. Is that still work? Yep, that's still lined up. So let's extract this to that component. And what did I call it? Create to do button. So we can say here, create to do. Actually, I'm going to copy this, but we're going to keep a lot of that styling. So let's come in here and go create to do button. A lot of that's probably the same. That'll be the same color. The icon. Yeah, everything there except for the click handler, which I'll implement myself. So now let's go to create to do button and just whack all of that in there. But then we're going to need to have that functionality as well. HAND, yeah, handle create to do click. So now I can basically just cut this, come over here, and then just paste it directly in there. Actually, that was a method. So we're going to have to say here methods and then just whack it in there. Cool. All right, so I'll be able to create the to-do by clicking on that. I don't know what this method is. Looks like it's doing nothing at all, though, so we can go ahead and get rid of that. This is for fetching the to-do list, so I don't need to do anything with that. And now let's jump back into this create to-do button. I might jump out of full screen here. And let's see if we still get that button. We don't, so maybe if I refresh the page. Hello, hello, Emmanuel. Good to see you again. All right, let's have a look through here. Why am I not getting that button? So I probably need to bind my adders here. v-bind is equal to adders. And all of that was sitting on the parent component, so I can get rid of that. Still getting nothing. Oh, I think I actually need to import the component as well. Yeah, that would be what I've done wrong here. So let's say, steal some code there. Create to do button, whack it into the components here. And there we go. That button's actually showing up now. Sometimes when I save this, that is refetching the lists. So I might want to, somewhere inside here, check if it's already been fetched. Hello, Easy Web Tutorials. That's a cool name. Why was it? Okay, there's a reason I was console.logging the route here. I did a little bit of work on my own, and basically I was practicing teaching how to have dynamic route paths up here, and then I was just console.logging the route to show the user how you could then pull it out. And there we go. Looks like I'm pulling it out there. So anyway, let's get back to this. Yeah, that's a problem, the fact that it's like refetching that on every mount, but we can fix that later on. All right, so it looks like that's working. Let's make it so that we can actually create a to-do now. So Let's go to that create to do button. This really should be a B dialog button. Maybe I just need to refresh the page here. Why is that showing a dialog? Oh, because it's literally using the okay, so it's using the dialog plugin here. All right, so what do we want to do? On OK, we basically want to take the text inside that. Oh, I don't think I like doing it this way. Have I got my B dialog button? Yeah, I got my B dialog button component, so let's use that instead. So much nicer. I actually don't really like using the dialog plugin. I'd rather just take control myself. So let's come in here and use that B dialog button. B stands for base, by the way, for those of you interested. And now what I can do is import that here, import B dialog button from components / B dialog button.view. And then I can come in here and components, whack that straight in. Oop, I have to copy this, whack that in there. And now we should be able to use that. I use plugin, but with custom component. Yeah, I've done that before. I think it's because I almost always, I shouldn't say always, I almost always just use this B dialog button pattern that I really like. So what I can do now is just sort of take, I can take this part here, so bind the attributes onto there. We'll deal with the click in a moment. But it means I can just throw stuff directly in here, like some stuff. And now when I click on that, it's just going to open it up. Can you please show an example how to use component methods in composition API? Component methods. So I think what you mean is sometimes you might want to call something on the dialog. Yeah, okay, you know what? Let's go on a tangent and see if we can do this. So I actually don't think it's that easy. And the reason it's not that easy is because you need to have a reference. So I need to have a reference to this dialog button. And that reference is not going to be available. Yeah, but that reference is not going to be available within the setup method, at least from memory. And so I think you need to like call a function that will then check for it. So I'll have a look in, for example, I want to use pick files, queue uploader. Okay, that might be too much of a tangent, but let's see if we can have a play around here and figure it out. And maybe Emmanuel can help us as well. So we'll call this dialog button. And I'm pretty sure if I come in here and try and pull out that ref, it is not going to work. On mount exists? I think you mean on mount. Yeah, we have on mount. In fact, yeah, maybe we could just use the composition API with something like on mount. So let's have a look at that. That might actually end up being the simplest solution. So let's say this dot refs and see if we can actually access that ref. Is that what it is on mount? Am I spelling that right? Let's look it up. View 3 on mount. Lifecycle hooks. Here they are here. All right, so mounted maybe, but I thought that it wasn't even available in mounted. Let's have a look here. I might have to refresh the page to get that working. Oh no, it looks like it's available. You're absolutely right. Yes, mount obviously, but yeah. Okay, so what you could do then, there's a couple of ways of doing this. You can say like, you can set a variable on mounted, and then you can say like, set it to a variable, but I don't really like that method. I'll show you what I mean. One way that I used to do it is like this. And I'd have, for example, dialog button ref or whatever. And I'd have that set to null. By the way, I don't think this is a very good example. But then you could say on mount, this dot dialog button ref is equal to that. Create and export a null ref. Yeah, I think what you're suggesting, Emmanuel, is kind of similar to what I'm showing here, but using a ref. I think there's a better way, though. Like, I think what you can actually do, for example, is say, you know what? Let's actually try this. Let's have a button inside this dialog button, which is kind of ironic. Q dash button. Is that going to work? Yep. Now, I think what you can do, for example, is say, you can actually put a method directly in here and then say $refs dot dialog button. And I'm pretty sure on this I've got a method called hide. I do. So what you can actually do is pass a function through there. And then if you call .hide, I'm pretty sure that will work. And I think this is the cleanest way to do it, provided that it actually does work. Yeah, so that works. So if I say here, for example, close, so you can do, hang on, I've got to catch up on what Emmanuel's been saying. But that ref in name on component, that's it, after on mounts. So you can do a method directly in setup. Yeah, okay. Oh, okay, I see what you mean. So rather than doing a pattern like this, you could just have that in a setup. All right, so let's try it that way. We're going to pull ref out of view. And then we'll say hide dialog is equal to what am I doing here? I'm kind of losing my brain. How do I get the ref though? Do you know how I would then get the ref from this point? Not ref as in the view ref, but the actual reference. Directly in setup. Can I then say, I can't use this because I'm in setup. Pretty sure that doesn't work. Let's just expose this and have a little play here. Man, this has gone way off topic, but that's totally fine. Just comment that out for now. I'm not quite sure what you mean. So when I click on this, we're calling hide dialog. Yeah, so this is going to be equal to nothing. So is there an easy way to access a ref in this scenario? I mean, I don't know that there is. In fact, let's have a look. Access ref in setup composition API. Const bob ref equals null. All right, so let's just say, I don't know why it's bob, but that's kind of funny. A ref set to null. Return bob. All right, so we'll do that here. On-click function you made. Yeah, okay. So when this is clicked, bob.hide. I don't get it. Bob.hide. But how does this ref here bob.hide? Okay, I think I'm just confusing myself now. So I probably don't need that there then. And then in hide dialog, what do I like accept the ref? Are you saying that I would then like say, I don't know, the ref? Oh, okay. I think I'm starting to understand now. So, Bob, I mean, I really should name this properly. I think what you're saying is, what, I do it like ref is equal to Bob like that? Is that what you're saying? And so then this will become Bob, and then when I say bob.hide, that would just work. Let's change Bob to dialog ref, maybe something like that. And I don't think we need this anymore. All right. Interesting. I've never seen this pattern before. Oh, we're going to have to bring that back in. No need of... Oh, really? I don't actually need that? No, you need. Okay, let's put it back in. Emmanuel's giving me a hand here. I don't know if you guys can see that in the chat. Leave the function. All right, so let's bring that function back. This is feeling kind of weird though. It's feeling like a bit much. So then I go dialog. I call dialog. No. What am I doing? Hide dialog. That should be exposed, and then I can use that there. Now what have I done wrong? Oh, I need to re-enable that. Whew. All right, what am I doing wrong now? And in that function, okay, bob.hide, which is this is added .value. Yeah, it should be dialog_ref.value.hide, because that will then should then be equal to the reference. Doesn't look like it's working for me. So we're saying the reference is equal to dialog ref, which is being exposed here. So that should then change this reference from null to the ref. And therefore this should work, but it looks like it isn't. So why have I got the ref there? Try removing that. Yeah, okay. All right, cool, that works. Okay, so looks like what's happening here is in the setup, we're setting a dialog ref equal to null. And then we are exposing that variable here. Then, because we've got ref is equal to dialog ref, that's basically binding ref to this dialog ref. It's so annoying that they're both called ref, as in a reference. So therefore, dialog ref is now equal to a reference to this button. So when I click on hide dialog, it calls this method and then okay, so I guess that's kind of a scalable way of doing it. Honestly, the way I would probably do it is get rid of, for simple use cases, yes, if you need and set up use. Yeah. The way I would usually do this is I'd say ref is equal to dialog ref at click. I would then just have a method directly in here and say dialog ref.hide. I'm pretty sure. Oh no, sorry. I'd say $refs.dialogref.hide. And now I have to get rid of this because my linter's going to complain. So that's what they say to do in the Vue docs. All right. But I guess that does make sense because there's going to be scenarios, especially when you're using the composition API, where you need to have access to that ref from outside of the component. And that wouldn't be possible if you use this method I'm using here. So this method is a really quick and dirty way of doing it, but I can see how Emmanuel's way that he just described using the setup method, that could be particularly handy if you need to use the composition API in kind of like a more scalable way. Like if you're importing parts of some functionality and you want to use it directly in the comp API. So, anywho, we got a little bit derailed there. Let's go back to what we had before. I don't even know how far I need to go back here. What did we have here? Beat dialog button. And then I started doing that. Some stuff. All right, so let's go back to that point and continue building this. So we're going to have our form directly in here. So let's make this a q-input. And we'll say v-model is equal to form dot. And what is it on my API? Let's take a look. Quasar cast. No, what is it? It's to-do-API. Here we go. But instead of to-do list, we want to hit to-dos. Ah, crap, I don't have any, so I can't even see what the API looks like. I'm pretty sure it is label from memory. You know what? I'm just gonna check this out. So let's say cd into quasarcast.com. This is my code for the Quasarcast website, and this is our to-do API. And I've got models here. One of them's the to-do. So let's go into the migration maybe, create to-dos table. So it's equal to label. And then we've got the Boolean of complete. All right, I've got to try and remember that. So let's jump out of that. Form.label. And now let's go ahead and create that form. I need to get back to what I was doing now. So we're not using this anymore. I might even just comment that out for now. And we need to use the options API. If you need on template is enough to use $ref. Yeah. What I don't think you can do though, I don't think you can say, for example, q-button. You can't do this. You can't say @click is equal to dialog button ref or whatever. You can't say, for example, refs.dialogbutton.hide. This actually won't work, and the reason this won't work is because when this is rendered, our dialog button doesn't exist yet, so that'll actually throw an error. I've run into this problem quite a few times in the past, thinking that it would just work. So if I put in here, for example, ref is equal to dialog button, unless I'm completely wrong, so I might as well test this. Let's hide that for now. Maybe refresh the page here. And it looks like I'm blatantly wrong, and that is working. Weird, I always thought that that didn't work. But it does. Look at that. Huh, I was wrong. What if I call it as a function? So if I need to pass some things through to it, will that still work? Yeah, okay, I don't know why. I don't know why I thought that I had to use a function there. I always thought you had to do this. All right, I was wrong. Moving on, I was wrong. Let's get rid of that. Come back to what we had before. Geez, I am quite the fool today. So now let's return here an object. And we'll have a form here. And then it's going to have a label that'll be equal to nothing by default. So let's open this up. And there is our form. And now my dialog button is going to be a Q card. So now we can say Q card section in there. That's just going to give us a little bit more space. And I might have like I think I added in a toolbar API. So maybe we can say like toolbar. I think I said show dash toolbar. Let's see if that works. No, let's jump into this dialog button and see what I had. I probably did a very basic example. Yeah, so we don't have a toolbar in there. So we won't bother with that. We might just try and keep this as simple as possible. And say, for example, create to do. I might even throw that in the Q card section. And then maybe we'll turn this into like a maybe like a H5. And I'll get rid of the margining on the top. Class equals Q, just margin top. None. Yep, and then I might just remove a little bit from the button. Q dash margin bottom dash medium. I think that'll probably do. Yep, and I always like to set the styling here equal to filled. I just think it's way easier to see. Yeah, it's much nicer if it's in filled. And then we'll say Q dash button. And then we'll label this as create. And there we go. A bit of margining on the top of that, and we should be done. Class equals Q dash margin top. Medium. What I might actually do, sometimes I actually like to throw this out of the card section and give it a full width like this. Full width. And we probably don't even need any of that margining anymore. And let's give it a color equal to primary. Yeah, I like to just kind of have it encompass the entire bottom section there. So I might come over here and say label is equal to do. Might have to open this again. There we go. So that's a pretty basic form that's going to work well for us. And now when we click on this button, we then want to make that request that then creates the to-do. And I think from memory, I already did that behind the scenes. So module to-do, we've got our actions. One of those actions is fetching. We got one for create, and we got one for remove. I'm going to assume they're all going to work and see what happens. So let's say import map actions, and we're going to import that from VUEX. And now I can come down here What am I doing? And then I want to have methods. And then we can say ... map actions. And then that's going to take in to do. Is it to do or is it to do's plural? So I can see it up here. Just to do singular. So that's going to give us the namespace. And then I can come down here and say, what's it called now? Actions create. Create is equal to create. And we might actually call that create to do, just to be a little bit more descriptive within the component. What doesn't it like here? Oh, it doesn't like my order of things. The linter used to fix that, but it isn't anymore, so I don't know what's going on there. Put in that comma. Cool. So now if I call create to do, that should go ahead and create a to do for me. So I might open up my network tab, make this a bit bigger, and I like to have a handler rather than doing it directly. So I might do this handle create button clicked. There's only one button, so I could probably simplify this to handle button clicked. All right, and then I can say this dot create to do, and that should work. So let's come up here, and at click is equal to handle button clicked. Nice. All right, so my task, let's see what happens there. I'm guessing something's going to blow up unless I somehow nailed it first go. All right, we got a 500. Server error. Maybe my server's just spazzing out. Quasarcast.com/to-dos. That's definitely the right endpoint, I'm pretty sure. Let's come over here and create a list just to check. Yep, so that should definitely be it. I wonder what that server error is. Maybe there's some other information that it needs. So I might have to come back to the project and have a look. See it into Quasarcast. Open that in code. And maybe we'll try opening Passport. Let's open Passport. I've got to use my hotkey to open it. And once that's open, we'll take a look and see if we can get this working. Let me just double check I'm hitting the right endpoint. Yeah, it's to-dos plural. That should be what it is. So let's come over here and say to-dos plural. Let's see if we can do a GET request on that. That's working, and that's using the API. Let's try this. A create request. It's going to have a label. We shouldn't need any of this stuff. So let's try that and see if it works. Okay, we get server error. So let's move to my test version. Quasarcast.test. Whoops. What's it doing? It's jumping to the end of the line for some reason. What the hell? That's bonkers. Every time I type a letter, it jumps to the end of the line. Oh gosh, I'm getting connection refused now. In not a better pattern, use QForm and add submit to work with enter key too. Yeah, I could do that. I wanted to keep it simple, but honestly, that might be simpler. I don't know. I'm gonna finish doing it this way first, but I think you might be right, and it might be more the quote-unquote Quasar way to do it by using a QForm. So I'll consider doing that. That's probably a better option, and I want to make sure people are doing best practices. All right, let's try and figure out what's going on here. Maybe it's because I need to have raw JSON, and I have to do it this way. No, this doesn't seem right. Let's say label. And we'll set that equal to my label .com server error. All right, I'm gonna have to try and figure out why my server doesn't seem to be working. I probably need to start up sudo service Nginx start. Let's start Nginx. I reckon that's probably the issue. Oops, let's make this .test, and now we can get a deeper error, hopefully. Ah, so I do need to include to-dos complete. All right, that's not cool. By default, complete, let's go to create, create underscore, what? Oh, I'm in the wrong project. Boolean complete, so we need to put a default here. Let's set that equal to 0 by default. By default, a to-do will not be complete. So let's say get status, just to check that. Whoops, to do API, get status, get add dot, get commit, message, complete default value is false. Push that, and then I'm just going to roll back the whole entire database and migrate it again, because there's no sensitive data. This is just a testing API. Okay, so I should be able to get it to work with that. You know, I should probably actually test if this works. So let's say migrate before pushing to production. Roll back, migrate again. And now let's open up Postman and we can run this and see if it works. All right, we need a to-do list ID. Really? That would make sense, actually, that I need a to-do list ID. They can't just sit on their own. That was by design. So let's come back here. And let's see if it works if I give it a to-do list ID. But first I'm going to need a list. So let's say to-do underscore lists. And I can't even remember what this needs. So let's go to create underscore to-do. Once again, I'm in the wrong project. Create to-do list table. And, okay, the only thing we need for that is a label. So let's set the label to my list, send that, and that should give me an ID, and the ID is equal to 1. So now I should be able to say to-dos, hit that endpoint, and then we'll say, I keep misclicking, to-do list ID, and we'll set that equal to 1 and see if that works. All right, that works, so I can create a to-do now. So let's jump out of here. That's already been pushed, so let's exit that, what am I doing? No, I didn't want to exit that. Quasar dev. But I am going to have to jump into Laravel Forge now and roll back that database and migrate it again. So I might have to do this on my bottom screen just in case there's stuff that you're not allowed to see. By the way, if anyone wants to check out the API, then you can actually check it out right now by going to, we have to hit this endpoint with the right requests, to do -API .quasarcast.com/ and then you can say, for example, to do _lists. And then if you supply that with something like a label and set that equal to, I don't know, my list, then that's actually going to send you a cookie back, and then your subsequent requests are going to allow you to basically play around with this API. So that's pretty cool. In fact, I'll paste it in the comments just in case one of you want to use it. Boom. All right, so now that Laravel Forge is loaded up, let me find this API endpoint, and then I can log into it using my console. I'm just going through my sites list here. And I probably shouldn't show you guys my sites list, though I'm pretty sure it probably doesn't actually matter. All right, so let's copy that IP address. That's the global IP. And now I can show you this part. SSH, and it's probably Forge at that IP address. And so that should work for me. It's going to ask me for my password on my keychain. And now let's cd into to-do -API blah, 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 blah. Now let's say art migrate rollback. I have to use PHP Artisan. PHP Artisan, in fact, we'll just wipe the whole database. Totally does not matter. Yes, wipe that database. And then we'll migrate it. PHP Artisan, migrate that database. Yes. And there we go. We're good to go. So let's exit out of there, and now we've got the infrastructure we need for it to work, so I can get out of here, and we can start developing again. So I'm going to jump out of Forge, throw that up there, and we can dive back into it. So I might close this down here. And what was I up to? Okay, so we're going to need to be able to grab this ID here in order for us to create a to-do list. So this create to-do button shouldn't even show unless we have got that ID in place. So let's come down here, and I think I set that up earlier. Yeah, so we've got a to-do list ID here, which is grabbing that from the route parameters, and we only want to show this v-if we have got that to-do list ID. Save that. It's working because we have a to-do list ID, but if I come here and set that to nothing, it's going to disappear. So if we select that now, it's going to show up again. That's exactly what we want. So now I can click on here, and let's jump into that create to-do. Oh, before I do that, we want to make it so that this actually needs a to-do list ID. So let's say we can probably drop the word to-do and say list ID, and that's going to be equal to our to-do list ID. So that's going to be passed through. By the way, I want to make sure that this is a number. Or should I pass that on the other side? I should probably make sure it's a number at this point. What's the fastest way? I don't know the best way to code this, to be honest. To basically say, does this exist? If it does, make it a number. Otherwise, give me null. That's kind of what I want to say. So how about we say this? If it exists, then give it to me. But we'll say pass int here, pass, what is it? Pass int like that. If it exists, whoops, oh gosh, lost my way. Here we go. So I'll just put that on a new line. If anyone can think of a better way to do this, then maybe like send me the code through. Otherwise, we'll just send through null, something like that. That's not too bad, to be honest. So now if we come back here and we set that to nothing, this still works, but it means we're actually getting a number passed through there. Otherwise, it's a string because it's going to automatically turn this into a string. All right, so we now have our create to do button. It's taking in the list ID, and we want to make that list ID mandatory. So let's come up here and we'll say props list ID required. Yes, that is required. Type is going to be equal to a number. And there we go. Let's save that. The linter is going to move things around. Thank you, Mr. Linter. Thank you, Mr. Linter. Yeah. And now when we click on this handle button clicked, actually we can take this list ID and whack it straight into the form. So now we can say to do underscore list underscore ID is going to be equal to this dot list ID. And we've got the label there. I think that's all we need. So this might actually work now if we're super lucky. Let's say my item and then say create there. And we got an error. Wow. Server error. So let's check what we actually sent through here. Oh, I'm probably not even sending through the form. Am I sending through the form? Luke, you got to send through the form, you silly, silly man. If I go to create to do, or is it under actions for to do? I think create, it's just accepting the payload. Okay, it's not accepting an ID. I was just worried that it was going to accept the list ID. So then we can say here this.form. Oops. And let's see if that works for us. So we'll come up here. I might open my network tab. And let's say my to do. Yeah, I've already fixed that. I wish that it was a little bit more faster on the live because sometimes I get these hints, but they're like, 30 seconds too late or something. Pending, 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 and it's errored out. Label, to-do list ID. What's wrong with that? To-do list ID. Is that actually what it's called? All right, then. Let's go into this project again. Quasar cast. CD into to-do-API. Open that in code. And let's jump back into that migration. Where is that migration? Create underscore to-dos table. Yeah, this should be to-do list ID. Let's say art tinker here. And let's say to-do factory, just to get one. We might just say create. Oh, really? I haven't even set up the factory properly. Come on, Luke. Get with it. Oh, actually, no, that probably is properly. I probably just have to say to-do list. and then I say like with factory or something like that. Oh, I could not be bothered right now. I just want to know. It's actually probably going to tell me here. To do underscore list underscore ID. So let's come back here. To do underscore list underscore ID. We've got a label there. What is going on? Why am I getting a 500? I really should be validating the data properly, by the way. I shouldn't be throwing 500 errors here. I should be giving back better information. But this really is looking like a server error. See, it's making it impossible to debug because I didn't do this properly. To-do list ID is 15. Let's refresh this page here. Why aren't I getting my lists anymore? Oh, it's because I migrated the database and I didn't refresh the page. Okay, I know the problem. So now let's say let's do something a bit more realistic. Shopping, we'll make it green. So that would be the problem, the fact that it hasn't actually got a list to relate to. Now we're on the shopping list. And now if I go create here and say eggs and click on create there, let's see if that works. Oh my gosh, it's not working again. To-do list ID. That's what's being sent through. I'm getting server error. Label. What were we doing on Postman? Let's open up Postman again and check that everything is identical there. But I'm pretty sure that's exactly what our form looked like. It had a label and a to-do list ID. Maybe for some reason it didn't get my latest code. So how about we try this again? But we say here that completed. Is it completed or complete? I actually can't remember. Let's set it to true and we'll just try both. That works. So it looks like my updates probably just weren't pushed. All right, let's jump back into Forge again. And once again, I'm going to have to not show you that because this is sneaky behind the scenes stuff. Sites. I'm just opening up my site here and opening up the API. And I can probably show you from this point. Oh, I better not just... Yeah, you know what? I'm just going to show you. So what are we doing here? Quick deploy is enabled. And I'm pretty sure that I pushed my code. So let's view the latest deploy log and just check the time on that. What's the date? It is the 17th of May. When did I do this? Yeah, that's the change that I made. And we gave it a default value. I don't know. But you know what? It actually doesn't really matter. I can focus on this later on. I'm just killing time if I just sit here. You know what? It's possible that I migrated the database and it wasn't ready yet. Oh, you know what? Stuff it. It really just doesn't matter enough. We've got something that's working, so we can push on. All right, so now we can create a to-do list. We need to make sure that it's actually inserted. Well, we need to make sure that, for starters, this is actually showing our to-do list and that it loads on start. So let's make that a live version of our to-do list and see if that's going to work. So if I come up here, we go to our index page. Where's the part where we actually show the to-do lists? There's our to-do list. We're passing the list ID. Oh, I was doing passing in there before. That's pretty bad code. So that would be this here, I'm guessing, the list itself. So let's jump into that. And I think it actually is fetching them. Yeah, it is fetching them when we change the list. So let's see what happens here. If I refresh the page, let's see if it actually gets the to-dos. That's getting the to-do lists. Okay, so we can't just watch it. We also need to make sure that on mount, that happens as well. So we need to say on mount, this.fetch using the list ID. Oh, whoops, they switched them around and I got confused. Haha. So this should be this dot the list ID. And there we go. So now let's see if that's working. Yes, so that's basically filtering through all of our to-dos, and it's working. We've got that one to-do that we created before. All right, so now we should be able to fetch all of those to-dos. Oh gosh, it's not easy though to we're gonna have to create our own getter for that to basically fetch to-dos based on Can you have a getter that is a method? I don't even know because I'm used to using VUEX ORM. Is it possible to do that? Can I have a getter and just like pass a method through there? No, that wouldn't make sense, would it? I really don't know. You know what we'll do? We might just get all of the to-dos and then we'll filter them in this section here rather than pushing that logic to VUEX ORM. So we can currently get all of our to-dos. So how about we say here v-4 to do in to-dos, but now we need to actually display all of those to-dos. We'll say to-do dot ID, or is it UID? I think it might actually be UID. Can't remember. Bugger. What was it called? Yeah, it's UUID. I'm going to leave this open just in case we need it again. All right, so to-do.uuid is going to be the key. We actually need to get those to-dos now. So how about we say here we need a computed property. And I'll come up here and I'll say, well, we can do it right here. Map getters. And then we can say here, map getters. And we're going to pull that out of to-do. And what was it called? I believe it was just called get. Yep, so now we can say here, get, or we can just call this to-dos and map that to get. So we're just going to spit all the to-dos out to begin with, and then we'll filter them based on the list that we have selected. Might just save that now as it is. There we go. It's showing up that one to-do, and now we can actually pull the data out of it by saying here, oh, what's going on there? It's showing 2 now. Anywho, to-do dot label. Let's refresh that page and see if it shows up properly. Nice. Cool. That's working. Let's see what happens when we add another one. Another to-do. Is that going to add it straight into the store? Yep, it did. So now I just need to make it so that that shows a loader and then it closes when it's done. So let's go into create to-do button. And believe it or not, Emmanuel, we are going to be using a ref right now. So now we can say ref and call this dialog button. And then we can say here, and this is why I always have a handler, because you always end up needing one. Dot then, we'll take in the response there. And then I can say this dot $ dialog button, no, $refs dot dialog button, and we're going to hide that. We've also got that spinner as well, don't we? So we might as well go ahead and get that done now while we're at it. Map getters. And when I said that spinner, I didn't explain myself very well. We've got a variable that tells us whether or not it's loading. But you don't use composition API. Yeah, it is easy without the comp API, isn't it? I guess, you know, the comp API can't just solve all of our problems and make everything easier. There's always got to be a trade-off. And there are some things that are certainly easier using the options API. So we can say here, map getters, and this is going to be to do. And then we're going to say, I think it was called fetching. Yeah, fetching. So then we could say, we might call this loading. Now let's be specific. Fetching to-dos. Fetching. No, that's not fetching. That's creating. What am I talking about? Okay, and since we might be making more than one to do at the same time, we don't actually do it this way. Sorry, guys, I just wrote a whole bunch of bogus code. What we actually want to do here is put a variable within our data property saying creating, something like that, and we'll set that equal to false by default. Then, what have I done wrong here? Map getters, we don't need that anymore. What we want to do is say when that's clicked, this dot creating is equal to true. It is now creating the to-do. And then when it's successful, this dot creating is equal to false, and it's also going to close that dialog out. We don't need the response here, so let's just put in parentheses there. And now we actually need to use that so we can say here on the button, loading is equal to whether or not is creating. So let's see if that works. What else can we get? We can get bread from the shop. We get the spinner. And when it's done, it closes the dialog. Tremendous. Really, really nice. What else are we going to do here? Should I implement deleting now? Well, actually, we should make it so that you can have more than one list. So we got shopping at the moment. Let's have another one that's called like tasks. We'll make that red and give it a hammer. That seems appropriate. Shopping's got a hammer. That's so ridiculous. We'll also have to make all this stuff editable as well. And honestly, I think this might end up being too much for a getting started series. Or maybe we'll implement like the entire API at the end. I don't know. But notice that if I go to tasks, it's doing another get request. What it really should be doing when we do a get request is it should be replacing the current data. So how about we go to our actions, fetch, and then when it's fetched, we say create many. So it's actually got to do with the create many mutation. So let's go to our mutations, create many. We don't want to push that. We actually want to replace the entire thing. State.entities is equal to whatever our payload is. I think I can literally just whack that in there. I think. Let's see if it works. Yeah, so it's doing the fetch, but it's doing a complete replace, which is why that's not changing right now. Sweet, so we're able to fix that. What else do we want to do? We also want to make sure that we've actually got filtering going on here. So what are we going to do? We want to get back into this index file to do list. And we want to make sure that our to-dos are filtered properly. So to-do in to-dos, let's change that to filtered to-dos. So we'll go computed here, and we'll say filtered to-dos, and then we can return this dot to-dos dot filter. I'm going to take the current to-do, and then I'll return to-do dot to-do list ID is equal to this dot to-do list ID. Is that what it's called in the props? No, it's just list ID. That should work. So let's see if it actually does work, because just because it should doesn't mean it will. Save that. And there we go. That's our shopping list. This is our tasks list, which actually gives us nothing right now because we haven't added any. So homework, create. Just did not work, did it? Shopping. What? It added it to the wrong list. What on earth was that all about? All right, so maybe that had something to do with the request. Or maybe the search. Am I searching wrong? This has got a to-do list ID of 1. All right, so when it created it, it was setting the to-do list ID equal to 1. So it looks like that we're getting the wrong parameter in there. So let's come in here and see what's going on. There might be some weird caching or, I don't know, going on here. Jump into here. Create to-do button. Here's our form. So the to-do list ID is equal to 1, even though it's 2 up here. So that should definitely not show 1. That should be showing 2. So let's have a little bit of a deeper dive into that and try and figure out why that's happening. Well, this is in the index file, I think. Index.view, to-do list ID. And this is where we're fetching the to-do list ID. So let's check it on the index component and see if that's actually the problem. Whoop. I'll come in here. Might be getting some weird reactivity issues. What's going on? Oh, sometimes the new version of Vue DevTools crashes on me. Let's try opening this in a new tab. Close that one out. And hopefully Vue DevTools will work this time. Yeah, all right. So if I come up here, it looks like that might just not be reactive. Let's go to page index. The to-do list ID is 2. All right, so it's changing there. To-do list ID is changing there. So if it's changing there, then it should definitely be passed down here. To-do list ID. So let's go to the Create To-Do button. Maybe I just needed to refresh the page. This is very, very strange. Let's jump into that button, Create To-Do button, List ID. Yeah, now it's changing. I reckon I just needed to refresh the page. It's probably just some weird out of sync stuff. So how about homework? Create that. Totally spelled that wrong, but it still worked. Nice, and let's say here, oh, that should be reset. Something else. Yep, that's working. Really, really nice. Okay, so now let's make it so that we can actually delete these by adding it to those buttons there. And I might do that by going to our to-do list. And what's that? That's a Q- button, and it's the vertical dots one. So that would be this one here. And I'm going to change this to a delete to-do button. And let's go ahead and create that component. Import delete to-do button from components / delete to-do button .view. All this boring stuff. And then I can come, I think components actually has to be on top. Components, at least that's what my linter says. And now we need to actually create it. There we go. So there's our Create To-Do button. Doesn't look like much yet. Let's jump into it. Sorry, Delete To-Do button. It's going to require the to-do that's going to be deleted. So maybe we can just take the to-do ID, so we're requiring less information here. Required, true. You need to have a to-do ID, otherwise the delete button doesn't make sense. The type of that needs to be a number, and that should be enough. And now I can make this a Q-button, and then we can say at click, handle clicked. So now I can come down here and have a method, methods, handle clicked. Let's just console.log clicked. Spelled that wrong, but it doesn't matter. We're just playing around here. And whoops, wrong button. Okay, clicked. And we need to change that to a delete. And then maybe down the line when we've actually got more stuff to put in that menu, we can do it in there. So delete to do button. Let's say MDI, maybe bin. Is that what it's called? No, MDI delete. There we go. That's pretty good. And jump back into that button. Actually, how about we add that ID here now? So to do dash ID is equal to, whoops, and then we can say here to do.id. Have I got the to do? Yep, there it is there. All right, so there we go. That was clicked. If I refresh this page, I shouldn't get any warnings, except for this slow network one. Don't know what that's all about. And now we just need to make a request to the server to delete that. And I don't know if I actually made that action yet. Let's see if I have. I've got create. I've got, okay, I do. It's called remove. And so that is an action. So we can say import map actions. And we're going to import that from VUEX. And now I can come down here and I can say ... map actions. And we can put in to do there. Throw in an object here, and I believe it is called remove. So let's call it remove here and remove there. And we might be more specific here by saying remove to do. There we go. When it's clicked, we can then say this.remove to do. And what do I need to remove it to do? All I need is the ID of the to do, which is exactly what we have. To do ID. That might be all we need to do, but let's add stuff like the spinner now. So we can do this. We can say removing, deleting. Yeah, deleting, I think. DELETING. There we go. That will be false by default. When this is clicked, then this.deleting is equal to true. And then when it is done, we're going to assume it's successful, which is probably a bad assumption to make, but we're just doing it quickly for now. Did I spell that right? Yeah. And then I can say this.deleting is equal to false. And then maybe we'll like omit a notification. I don't know. that says that the delete was successful. Okay, it worked, but now we actually need to hook up this deleting by saying loading is equal to deleting. And now I can go in here and delete these silly ones. Deleting. Boom. It is working. Pretty cool. I actually really like this. Like, I love that it's kind of hooked up to an API that we can just work with. I can delete all the to-dos in my list. Oh, man, this is fun. Now I can just go to shopping and I can say I need eggs. Whoa, what happened there? Did that work? Yes. But it's not showing up in the list. What's going on? What's going on, y'all? What? Is it doing that weird thing again where it's adding it to the wrong list? I'm sure I was on shopping then. Or am I just crazy? Eggs? Nah, something funky's going on here. Task, let's say here. Homework, I need to make that reset. And I got the feeling this might be wrong right now. Create to do button. List ID is 2. No, that's correct. That's correct. What? Oh, okay, I know what the problem is. It just dawned upon me. Create to do button. It's this code here. So I want that to be set. I think that's basically hard coding it in there. And then when I change the page, that's not actually updating the form behind the scenes here. That would be my best guess. So let's jump in here and see if that's actually the case. Create to do button. And if we look at the form itself, to-do list ID is 2. It's not changing. However, the list ID is changing. I thought you could do this. I thought that you could just point to it directly, but I was wrong. For some reason, I feel like maybe this will work. Does anyone know the correct way to do this? I've done it in the, like, I feel like I do this all the time at work, but I can't remember running into this problem. But then again, I'm on a different version of Vue, so maybe it's something to do with that. So let's come up here and actually show that. We can easily show that by doing this. What is it? It's, let's just show the entire form. We'll wrap that in a pre-tag. So to-do list ID is 2. So that is not changing it. So what I could do is I could make the form a computed property. I don't know, that feels kind of funky to me though. The problem is that it's not being rendered again. But that's probably not a problem. That's probably what you want because it means that it's going to be snappy and the component is super reusable. So what's the best way to do this? I don't know. Maybe I do need to make this a computed property. Or, okay, why don't I just do this? We'll call that form. And then I'll just do it here. Make a prop on button. Not sure what you mean by make a prop on button. But I think one other way you could do it is just say const form. Is it actually, what about this? I'm trying to think of a really clean way to do this. Why don't we just do this? Use the spread operator there and say this.form. And then we can say, oh, what was it? Oh, crap, something about an ID list. Was like to do underscore list underscore ID is equal to this dot list ID. Props on add button. I thought I did make it a prop. Props. What am I missing here? Why don't I understand that? Add props. Did I not do it? Props, it's right here. And then I got the list ID. And then I was passing that list ID through here and it wasn't working. Not sure what you mean. Like, for example, this is what I had before. Let me point out what I'm doing wrong here. To do list ID, and then I was saying this.list ID. And now the problem with that, and it's possible that you all think I'm a bit of an idiot right now, and you actually know why this isn't working, but I can't figure it out. Yeah. So, but the reason that this is happening is, I'm pretty sure, if I can find it, here's the component here. I need to name it so it doesn't show up as anonymous. Yeah, so to-do list, notice that list ID is showing up correct in the props there as I change it. But it's not changing here. And I think the reason is this component isn't re-rendering. By changing the list ID, I'm not re-rendering the component. However, what I could do is I could add a key here, which is the list ID. And I think that will actually solve the problem. That will probably force it to re-render. No, I'm completely wrong. I thought you could do that, and then it forced it. You know what? Totally doesn't matter. Anyway, this is going to work for now. I think the reason is the data gets set, and then the data isn't going to change until that component is re-rendered, which is why we're getting that weird issue there. So anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to delete that out of there, and then basically have it done this way. And I might even clean that up a little bit. Or, honestly, it's probably looks a little... Exactly, and why don't it destroy... I don't know. I don't know what's going on there, Emmanuel. If you can figure it out, let us know. What am I doing here? Const form is equal to an object, and I'm basically just going to cut this. I think this reads a little bit better. I want to be able to just throw a form directly in there. Yeah, this looks nicer to me. Cool. All right, let's see if that works. So now, let's go to shopping, delete everything in our shopping list. Boom, boom, they're both gone. Refresh the page. And now let's add here eggs. And that worked. Let's add another one called tomato. Yeah, that's true. If I was using the dialogue component, then this would not be a problem. Homework. Whoops. Homework. What else do I need to do in terms of tasks? Gardening. There we go. Looks like it's working. Let's come back here and just check it again. Shopping. Maybe I'm out of paper. Even though I don't buy paper because we don't even have a printer. Just use the computer for everything. But, yeah, there we go. We can see that it's working now. This to-do button isn't synced. Actually, let's go ahead and sync that. I am in on page. What does that mean? Your component don't because... Yeah, that's what I believe the problem is. I believe that this is not re-rendering. You know what? I'm probably going to finish up the stream in a second, so let's spend a little bit of time seeing if we can actually figure out a solution to this. Undo. What I think should work is I should be able to say, okay, we got the list ID in here, passing it through to there. This is not going to re-render. And so I should be able to add key. But then again, if I add a key there, it's going to re-render the template, but it won't actually change the data behind the scenes. So what's the solution here? What's a really clean solution? I can't believe I'm getting stuck on this because I feel like I create forms all day long. And now I'm wondering how to do this simple task. All right, so let's play around a little bit here. To-do list ID is 2. To-do list ID is still 2. One thing I could do, but I really don't like this because it feels gross, is I could add a watcher. So I could say, for example, check if list ID changes. This just feels like too much code to me though. New list ID. And then I guess I could say this dot form dot to do list ID is equal to whatever the new list ID is. I'm pretty sure that will work. Let's just test it. It's set to 2. It's set to 1. So that works, but it just doesn't feel right. That feels really funky to me. The other solution to this, which is probably a little bit cleaner than that, is we could maybe just change this from form to, I don't know, component form or local form, data form, I don't know, live form. Let's just say, I don't know, data form. I could get rid of that there. Come up here, and this is what we model here for our data. We model our data form for the label. And then for the form, we just have that as a computed property. This is probably a little bit cleaner than having a watcher. And then I could return an object here, which is basically this dot data form. This is similar to this other solution I had before. And then I could say, for example, to do list ID is equal to this dot list ID. I reckon that would also work. So how about, yeah, we're spitting out the form here. So let's just check if that updates. It's set to 1. It's set to 2. It's set to 1. So that's another solution. Once again, doesn't feel clean to me. I'm pretty sure with this composition API, this does actually stay. There's like a ref2 or something like that that solves this problem. Let's have a play around and actually see if we can get it working with the comp API. It'll be fun. The way I might do this is just comment all of this out, except for the dialog button part, and except for this part as well. So let's have a crack at this. If I say setup, check it out, still blank. Yep. So if I say setup and we say const form is equal to a reference to an object. I'm pretty sure there's another type of ref, but I'm going to try and make it break first, and then I'll try and figure that out. One of the things is to do list ID. In fact, we could just do this in order to test this. And now let's just return that and expose it. Form. What's going on here? Have I imported? Oh, I need to accept the props here. Props, list ID, and now we actually need that reference. I'll comment that out and say import ref from view. Let's have a little play with this and see what goes on. Oh, now it's going to be referencing the stuff, so it won't work. All right. Label is equal to an empty string. Now what? Label of undefined. Form. Okay, it's because I changed that to data form. Form. And let's just forget about all of this. I just want a working example I can play around with. What else is wrong here? Form.label. Ref. List ID. I don't see what I'm doing wrong. Let's refresh the page. Okay, there we go. So to do list ID is 1. It's still 1. Okay, now let's see what happens if I say, can I do something like, I think there's like a 2 ref or something like that. Let's check out view composition API and see if we can find the docs on that. And I think there's different types of ref that we can use. Like the reference of an object or something. It's called like ref, it's called 2ref, I believe. Oh look, we got the unmounted hook there. I don't think I've actually ever used that before. Two refs. Here it is here. Here we go, a reactive reference to a property. All right, so let's come back here. What are they doing here? They're saying two refs props in order to pull out. So let's come back and say, all right, okay. Let's copy this code here. But instead of doing that, I want to see if I can pluck out list ID from the props. Can I do that directly in there? Will this wizardry work? Surely not. This feels like absolute wizardry. Ref, wrapped in a two ref. This just seems completely wrong, but we'll see what happens. We're just playing around here. List ID is not defined. Yeah, okay, I didn't think that would work. But I should be able to do this. List ID, I might have to say here const list ID is being yanked out of two refs. And let's see if that way will work. List ID is 1. Ha! I knew that two refs had a purpose, and here is a fantastic example. So, I believe what's happening here is by default props are not reactive. At least it seems like that. I always thought that they were, though. Let's see if that works. Oh, yes, I know, that's fine. So let's try that. We get 2. We get 2. There we go. So it isn't working in this case. However, when we create a reactive reference to that list ID, and then we do it directly in there, so we need to create a reactive reference. In fact, what happens if I do this? Just messing about here. What if I just do a reference directly to our, I'd have to say, props.listID. I wonder if that would work. 1, 1. Okay, so that doesn't work. 2 refs. Let's try using the 2 refs on that. Sometimes I like to just brute force it and just mess around and see what happens. Oh, I probably have to say dot value there. Yeah, no, this is like a complete catastrophe, but it was fun to mess around anyway. So, but we have a solution now. So if I say list ID, if we pull that out of the props using 2 refs, and then I come in here and I say list ID there. I still don't know. Wait, hang on. Can I just cover this in a ref? Surely I can. I thought 2 refs was basically something similar to refs, but it allowed you to do like more properties at once. And what if we say your props.listID, and we call this list ID. Oh gosh, what am I doing? Come on, Luke, get it together. Yeah, so we're just making this property a reactive property. List ID is 1. So that doesn't work though. What if I call 2 refs directly on that? What's that going to do? We'll find out in a moment. I'll go back and actually read the docs later on, but I kind of like to mess around and sort of push the limits here. Okay, that's the one that gives me 2 refs, and then I have to come in here and say dot value. Wait, let's go back to our example before we've just ref and say dot value here, because I think I forgot to do that last time. 2. Okay, so that doesn't change it. And now Emmanuel is saying just use a computed property. But I like this better. I don't think I need to, because if I do this, if I say list ID, I think this is the cleanest solution that I've found out of everything yet. Two refs, props, and I pull out the list ID from that. Change ref to computed. Oh, okay, see what you mean. You could just wrap it directly in a computed. All right. Let's have a play around with that. So you're saying, I think you're saying computed, and what? I can just directly go, for example, props dot list ID and do it that way. Let's say here list ID is equal to, and do it like that. I mean, I don't know if that looks cleaner to me, but does it work? ID1. Yeah, that works. I don't know. It's just another way of... What's the difference between that? This is turning one way turns a property into a reactive property, and another one simply recalculates it when the prop changes. I mean, honestly, if I'm honest with you, I still don't understand why this doesn't work. It still doesn't quite, it hasn't quite clicked in my head, in my tiny little brain. No, I don't think I need dot value here because it's directly on a prop. Do I? I could be wrong. To do list IDs. No, because it works there, but it doesn't change. How about we try list ID? I think I already tried this before, doing like a ref directly on there. Yeah, honestly, I can't find... Can anybody find a cleaner solution than this? Const list ID is equal to refs props. To me, this is still the cleanest solution. To me, that is still the winner. I don't even think I have to say dot value there. I don't think I have to say dot value. Two, one. No, computer does work, but it's not as beautiful as this. So we got that versus const, let's say, other list ID is equal to computed. So computed does work. I did actually try it and it works. Maybe I'm not writing it in the cleanest way possible, but to me, this not only does it not feel as clean, it also feels a little bit weirder to me. To basically then say props dot list ID. Do you see what I mean? Like that to me feels cleaner than that. So this will also work. If I say here other list ID, I might have to comment that out. Oh God, now it's... Sometimes I think I need to just turn off my linter. Yeah. Anywho, that's where we ended up on. I'm going to have to undo all of this now. Hopefully I get back what I had before. Why props.list? Yeah, it doesn't rerun, but you can create a reference. Whereas you don't have the power to create that reference, or at least you have to do some janky stuff to do it using the options API. What did I decide on in the end? I can't remember. That was me still playing around. Oh, gosh. I think I decided on that in the end. Is that going to work? Oh, it doesn't matter because it's added in here. So I'm pretty sure, yeah, that's what I decided on the end. Let's just quickly try one more and say here, lettuce. I don't know, like, okay, I want to ask you all your opinion now. Is it just me, or is this feeling like it's way too much for a getting started guide? I feel like I feel like having to hook up an entire VUEX for the list, entire VUEX for the to-do items, VUEX for the create button as well, hitting an API endpoint, doing all of that crap, it just feels way too much for a getting started guide. But it also feels a bit stupid to not do the whole thing. So I'm a little bit lost, to be honest. I might have to just sleep on it and sort of decide on what I'm going to do here. But like, there's still so much other stuff I'm doing in this getting started guide. So, for example, I've got the whole responsive landing page. What did I call it in the end? Landing page responsive. Yeah, I've got like the entire landing page that we're building out. This is going to end up taking up quite a bit of time. It doesn't look like a lot, but it actually takes a little bit of time to teach that, especially to a beginner. So, I don't know. I also need to fix that. Yeah, maybe hit me up on Discord. Let me know what you guys think. But anywho, it's getting a little bit late over here, so I need to head off to bed soon. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Check out quasarcast.com/register if you like this kind of stuff. And if you want to see some of my cleaner videos, these are videos where I'm just kind of bouncing around trying to figure stuff out. But if you go to quasarcast.com/register, then you can register an account there and just like watch all of my videos for free. It's completely free. I might have some paid stuff in the future, but for now, you can just use that to your heart's content. So yeah, thanks everyone for watching. I had a blast.